Comedy Network interviews. Today I have a very special guest, one of the best LGBTQ comedians in the entire Austin comedy scene. This man is a really great presence, and ever since I've known him, he's had a real electric energy about him, and I really appreciate you coming down. I'm introducing Jose the Hype.
Woo! Oh my God! Thank you, DK.
Yeah,
appreciate
welcome to the studio for the first time, man.
I love it. I love it. I love the setup. I love everything. You even put out the rainbow for me. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Pride Month, bitch. That's
When
what I'm
is
talking
Pride
about.
Month? Is this month Pride Month?
It's June is Pride Month.
I did not know that.
You're lying.
I did not know that.
I mean, you just thought that the rainbow flags came out of nowhere?
Well, I didn't see the rainbow flags yet this month.
So you
I must not have been out enough this month.
literally, if you walk up and down 6, like they throw rainbows at you. There's enough glitter on the ground in order to draw your name in it.
Wow, that's crazy. It's probably because I've been working so much, and usually whatever company I'm working for around this time of the year is usually doing some type of pride.
Gay people don't have to worry about work. We don't work. We it's literally in our contract. We just don't work. Like
I feel that.
Yeah, like we come out like not even rich, but just like able to go and do things that straight people can't. Like travel, we can do that. Like every trip that anybody has ever gone on for the past like 20 years, only gay people have done it.
As a gay person, do you ever feel like there's certain places you can't travel, or that you should be cautious of traveling? Let's say Texas. No.
Yeah, Florida as well. Pretty much all of the South, the entire the places that I've lived my entire life. Places that we can't travel to. Maybe some certain places in the Middle East, you know, where, you know, basically
they're not as liberal ideology.
They're just kind of like, you know, we don't really like that you hold hands with men for love interests. We just hold hands with men because we like holding hands with our friends.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they do over there. We're over here. We're just like, I just want to hold hands with this man because I'm fucking him. Kind of thing. So, maybe just like some countries in the Middle East and like, maybe some African countries as well. Like, I know like some areas in Uganda, you can't really, they don't really like that shit. And then like if you go to maybe like Chad or some shit, I think Chad is pretty okay with it. But I know y'all don't know where any of these other countries are because y'all don't actually know geography. These like country. Okay, Africa has many countries.
I know a little bit more geography than the average.
I don't mean you. I'm thinking like the watcher base is.
Oh yeah.
I don't trust them to know geography. Yeah. I trust you to know geography.
Well, one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to have you here and come down and interview, because as long as I've known you, you've been a super talented comic. As I said, you have real electric energy about you. And that's one of the things I appreciate from you as a, you know, also a creator. You're always working on new things, and whether it be producing or even doing some acting here and there, doing some social media stuff here and there. You know, you're a very active guy when it comes to your creative passions, and I appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
What led you into getting into comedy?
Okay, so the first stand-up routine that I ever did was in high school. I was 16 years old, and it was an assignment for my theater class, and so my teacher was just like, all right, everybody has to do 5 minutes. We had to do a tight 5, and we had like only a week to come up with it. And so they were like, we don't care how you do or what you do, just do it, and just go up there and you just got to just talk for 5 minutes. And so I was just like, I don't know this comedy thing. I'm funny, but I don't know how to like just write a joke. And so I was just like, hey, I'm just gonna do a stand-up routine from Steve Harvey. So I just stole a whole bit from Steve Harvey and performed 5 minutes for all of these little white kids in class. Yeah. Because it was me, my girl Samantha, and my girl Del Toya, and also Unique was in there, but anyways, so we were like the only black kids in class out of a class of like 25, 30 kids. So of course, none of them knew that this was Steve Harvey. Kings of Comedy had just come out. They were just like, oh wow, Jose is funny.
Wait,
Jose
what grade were you again at this time?
This is like 10th grade.
Oh, okay. Because at first I thought you said 6. I'm like, wow, you were watching Kings of Comedy.
I said 16. I said 16.
Yeah.
No. Oh God. I knew who Stevie Harvey was at 6 though. I can't even lie about that. But no, like, dude, just killed it. Absolutely murdered with this set. And that was the first set that I ever did. And then I never did comedy ever since that point again. But I always did like poetry. And so I would write like comedic poems. And I would do like spoken word and poetry. And I kept going out to the poetry spots and whatnot.
Okay. And when did you end up getting back into comedy?
2014, 15 time frame.
Okay, so you've been doing comedy about 9-10 years at this point.
Yeah, consistently. That's the consistent point.
Okay.
My first place that I ever performed was back in Atlanta, Punchline Comedy Club. I remember going up in there. It was one of the open mics, and it was empty. It was so empty. It was all comedians, and I had worked on this little this Home Depot bit. I don't even remember how this joke went, but it was a Home Depot bit, and it was not funny. And nobody laughed, but the energy was so high that people were still compelled to watch. And I've always had that on my side. Like when I'm up there on that stage, the lights are on, I'm on. I love being on stage. I love entertaining people, and that's what I've always done that since I was 8 years old. I've been a stage performer, a filmmaker since I was 8. So I've been doing this a very long time. And so seeing when I get up there on that stage, my energy usually carries me a long way.
Yeah, and this is a point that I make to people all the time when it comes to performing comedy, is that it's not just about the jokes, it's also about the delivery. The delivery matters so much because people forget that it's not just about being comedic, it's also about entertaining. The umbrella of comedy is entertainment. We are entertainers at the end of the day, entertainers with a comedic purpose and a comedic intent, but no less entertainers.
Exactly. It's kind of like that joke that Kevin Hart has on stage. Like we all know it. Like, you ain't got no nipples. Like long nipples. Like it's the way that it's said that delivers it. If he had just gone up there and be like, you ain't got no nipples.
Yeah,
that's not funny.
Completely different.
Completely different. No, you gotta have a way that you say things and deliver it. Like delivery, timing, content. Those are the 3 factors in creating a great joke.
Yeah. I always, when I think of people performing or doing arts in general, like being creative, I always think of that one song, like this little light of mine, I'm gonna let, like, I really feel like that's what that song was written about, you know, people getting to express their inner soul, you know, and that's one thing that we talked about last time on the podcast, on the last episode, whereas we talked about the fact that art and comedy as a whole is about getting in tune with yourself and finding out how to take those elements from yourself and express them to the world in a way that they can all understand and be drawn into your world. It's either you're going into their world or you're bringing them into yours.
Yes.
And that's also a big decision when deciding when to perform. Like, for instance, something like crowd work, you're usually going into other people's worlds. You know, that's how you're grabbing their attention. You're asking, what are you doing? Where do you work? You know, you're jumping into their world and making fun of and making, you know, getting to the intent of making funny content out of their life and their world. Wow.
And I'm starting to realize this within, like, the grand comedy scene. When people come to live comedy shows, in fact, like, one of the main reasons why people come to live comedy shows is to see the audience interaction and to be a part of the audience interaction. That's more of a factor in comedy shows now than it is than it was previously. You know, previously it was like you're going to see your favorite comedian because they got great bits that they do and that you love hearing them do, or you want to hear their new material. You know, now it's like I want to hear Matt Rife rip a new one into this crowd member at the front.
Yeah.
You know, like you didn't really have that a lot back in the day. Like even with Jamie Foxx, somebody like Jamie Foxx, watching his stand-up specials, he used to do a little bit of crowd work, but for the most part, this man was up there just being silly and being himself.
Yeah, it's really more of a new age thing. I mean, everything takes on its evolution and phases, and crowd work shorts or content based around crowd work has brought a lot of people, has helped take comedy mainstream over these last few years.
Yeah, and that's exactly why you got a lot of people getting their ass whipped recently as well. That's because have you seen the videos online? Comedian after comedian, stand-up comedian after stand-up comedian going up there and trying to talk shit to a crowd member and don't know that crowd member is a whole disabled veteran and will come up there and break their foot off in their ass.
I've seen some clips like that.
I've watched my friends in Atlanta try this shit. I'm like, you can't fuck with everybody.
Yeah, Atlanta's a little bit of a different city.
Don't be in Atlanta Comedy Club trying to act like you hard, bitch. You are a comedian. You will get smacked the fuck up. You have a microphone. That's the only thing that's blocking people from coming up there on that stage and whooping your ass. In fact, I'll be hard pressed to find some people that don't wait outside for comedians.
Yeah.
Because you know already, when you leave out of a show, if you did a good job, people be out there, oh, good job, good job, good job. You fuck with the wrong person, they gonna shoot you.
This is true. Especially in a place like Atlanta. Now, in somewhere like California, you're a lot more safe.
We are in Austin.
Yeah.
This is Texas.
Yeah.
Don't tread on me, state.
Yeah.
You talk about Atlanta. These motherfuckers. We just had a shooting last night on 6th Street.
Yeah, this is also true. But in a lot of the places performed in downtown Austin, you know, they serve alcohol, and they're pretty strict about not keeping guns in places that serve alcoholic beverages. Like,
I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't even know because I don't really go on 6th Street like that.
Yeah.
I hate 6th Street. What the fuck? Why are you on 6th Street?
Oh, because most of the clubs are on 6th Street, so I spend a lot of time doing mics and stuff down on 6th.
Why are you still going to clubs? Go to lounges. Go to bars. Clubs are awful.
Well, I spend my time in those places too, but 6th Street is extremely convenient because it's close, you know, and it's easily walkable, which for somebody who doesn't have a car like me is a huge factor.
I mean, hey, no shade, no tea, more power to you. You're not gonna catch me on 6th Street.
No, I definitely understand that sentiment. A lot of people have that, especially those who have been living down here in Austin for a very long time, you know.
But I've been to clubs. Like, that's the thing. I've been to real live, like, actual clubs before they became shitty now, where they're just like places where people just open them just to make a bunch of money. Like, no, I went to like real live clubs that had like the lights and the music, and like artists would walk around, and like I'm bumping shoulders with T-Pain and Lady Gaga in the same goddamn night. Yeah. I'm like in the real place to be. Like, I guess being in Atlanta, you don't really get to say that you don't get to have the same kind of experiences outside of Atlanta, because Atlanta is so saturated with like fame, fortune mixing in with the commoners. Yeah. And so it's just like you're in that same echelon, and clubs just being like that place where people would just socialize in that manner. It just feels like I can't see myself doing clubs anymore because they're just shit. They're just so bad. Like, I'm not gonna see anybody up in there. You're not gonna see Jelly Roll in the fucking club.
Yeah, I definitely understand that sentiment. Now that might not be the case for somewhere like the Mothership, which is
that is a comedy club. That's different.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought you meant by clubs.
What? No, I meant like dance clubs.
Oh no, I meant like comedy clubs. You know, all of them are downtown. Or
yeah, the only places that I go are the comedy clubs. That's the only places that I end up. But I don't really even call those clubs. Those are just like, I call them comedy joints. Yeah. Because, like, can you really call that a club? Do you like pay an admission to get in there? Do you pay too much for drinks?
Well, I don't know if you've seen that fucking bar menu at the Mothership, but it's not cheap.
I have never bought a
just on 6 in general. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they pay higher taxes, or the establishment's costs have a higher overhead because of the location. But the drinks on 6 are not cheap in terms of like places you can go.
Another reason why not to be on 6.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so place that I've gone that had the best fucking drinks. I just got back from New Orleans. So I was born and raised in New Orleans. But I never got to really like party in New Orleans, like on bourbon and like out downtown when I was growing up there. But I went back for the LGBT LOL festival last week. So shout out to Ryan. And it was so much fun. I paid $26 for 4 drinks. 4 drinks I bought a round of drinks for everybody that was in our pack. $26. I was like, this is ridiculous. Yeah, $26. Yeah. Buy another round, bitch. Let's go get everybody. Bitch, I thought I was about to have to pay $50 for just one round of drinks. $26. No, we stayed up, and it was strong. That all night, yeah. And it was strong, man. I had a fucking Incredible Hulk that put me on my damn ass. I ain't had an Incredible Hulk since 2004. Since T-Pain was talking about, let me buy you a drink. I was like, bitch, let me go ahead and get an Incredible. Remember when Yin Yang Twins was talking about whispering and shit? That was the last time I had an Incredible Hulk. It was just wild to be back home in New Orleans, and I got fucked up. Oh, I got so fucked up. I just went out there and just had a good old time. But, you know, shout out to New Orleans. I love my hometown. If y'all need a comedian to come back and make y'all laugh.
So let me ask you a little bit. How much time did you spend in Atlanta doing comedy?
I was in Atlanta from I guess 2014, 2015 to 2020.
Okay, so about 4 or 5 years down there.
Yeah.
And how would you compare Austin as a scene versus Atlanta?
You trying to compare Austin to Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm asking you for your
Okay,
comparison.
as a comedy scene.
Yeah.
I'll keep it in the lens of comedians, because you definitely can't compare where they grow white people at to where black people have found their mecca.
Yeah.
So it's just, I say that in comedy, I learned how to sharpen my teeth in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to take my lumps, get my criticism,
Mm-hmm.
because it was hard. I'm gay, I'm black, and like just as queer as I am, I didn't fit into a lot of the black spaces. And I know a lot of them will say it, especially when you're working on the comedy scene out there. The comedy scene
In Atlanta,
the comedy scene in Atlanta is very straight.
Really?
It's extremely straight. There's very few queer people that were stand-up comedians. The people who were comedians that were queer all did drag.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was doing drag. They were working at the gay clubs. They were doing those shows, or they were doing plays and things like that, or they worked in film, which I also worked in. But it was not a place for stand-up for comedians. And we had a few of the like queer comedians come through, like the big names, like Flame Monroe.
Uh-huh.
But you didn't really have, and Bob the Drag Queen, of course. But like again, those are also people who dress in drag, or well, Flame is a whole trans person. So like, it kind of was like, I don't do drag. I'm just me, and I'm not going to change it up. I mean, I identify as non-binary, but I'm not about to go ahead and change the way that I dress in order to fit into the scope of what you think a queer person is supposed to look like. And especially with how a lot of people are homophobic in Atlanta, it being the gay black mecca of the United States and still being homophobic is beyond me.
Yeah, because I always thought like you could throw a stone and hit a queer person in Atlanta.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I always thought.
they're everywhere, but they're also very, very much a lot of closeted people, and they can be very violent toward the queer people. So,
do you think you experience more violence from closeted queer people than you do straight people on average?
Oh, I don't experience violence. I solve violence, bitch.
Yeah. Oh.
You come at me any kind of way, we're gonna step onto the street, and I'm gonna beat your ass to the cobblestone.
But you get what I mean. Do you feel like you have more discrimination or hate thrown at you from people who you perceive as being more than likely closeted gay people rather than straight people?
I don't feel like I have the experience to be able to actually answer that question, because when it comes down to it, I distance myself from
negative energy.
From the negative energy.
Uh-huh.
I don't put myself in those kind of situations. I mean, I understand that there are straight people who are making litigations in Congress right now, who are passing laws that restrict a lot of the queer community. And to me, I don't feel it. I fight against it, knowing that I'm fighting for the people who are disenfranchised that are standing with me. I don't naturally feel it because I don't put myself in those situations. Mm-hmm. My existence already is a threat just because I'm black. Then my existence is a threat because I'm a queer person. I exist in it. I think I've just become numb to it, that I don't really even recognize it. And so I just be like, you know what? Straight people gonna be straightening. And queer people just gonna be queering, and we just gonna have to exist like this until straight people figure out one day, hey, we shouldn't be fucking with these folk.
Okay. And you've been doing comedy 9 or 10 years. Are there any, I would say, like crazy stories that you've had in your time? I mean, because this is a common thing with all comics.
Ooh. Crazy stories in comedy. It's always racist shit. It's always racist shit. So, I was doing a show with my boy. I can't remember this guy's name. We used to work on The Originals together. You remember the TV show The Originals that used to come on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we were working on the originals together. He was a stand-up comedian. Like, he was fairly famous at the time, but we was both doing background work. And he was like, hey, man, yo, why don't you come on the road with me? Let's go do this show out here in, like, bumfuck and, you know, like, just make these hillbillies laugh. And I was like, okay, let's go do it. So we go to, I don't remember where it was. I just know that, you know how you could just smell the sundown town? Yeah. It smelled like that. It was completely sundown. Like, it was to the point, like, we saw the sign, we saw the Trump flag, and we saw the Confederate flag as well. And so, like, you got to remember, Georgia, outside of Atlanta is Atlanta. Outside of Atlanta, that's just the rest of Georgia. Yeah. Okay, so they haven't moved past 1822. Really? So they're still living in, like, grass huts or whatever the fuck they lived in back then. Yeah. But I'm kidding. They didn't live in grass huts. But no, it was pretty scary. So I'm like, yo, man, this is terrifying. I don't want to be in this area. But let's go do this show. So we get to the bar. We walk inside, and straight up, it was a sea of just the most Caucasian people that you ever did see. Like, it was swimming. I was swimming in white women, and it was literally just like I was terrified. I was just like, this is my first time ever doing a show in front of this many white people before in this kind of rural area. So it was just on me because I was scared. I was scared. These people probably didn't have a racist bone in their body, but I just saw the signs. Like, maybe you're not racist, but you live in a racist city. You live under the flag of Trump. You live under the flag of Confederacy. You can't tell me you're not racist, but you're showing me the signs of racism. So we go up there. He has me open up the show. I start talking about all of this gay shit. I didn't realize these people weren't racist. They were just homophobic. Because they went from laughing at the black jokes, because I'm telling my black jokes, I'm like, yeah, black people like this and white people like that, you know, just like basic shit. And they straight up went silent. They laughing their ass off when I was talking about that. But I was like, so yeah, I'm a gay veteran. Crickets. Full crickets. And then I saw the two only other black people in the building get up from the bar at the back, get up, walk out the back door, and then the bartender went over and locked the back door. I said, what the fuck is going on up in here?
It's time for me to leave.
I need to go. They was like, no. We just have to lock it so nobody can walk in through the back. We got a side door that everybody can come in through. I need to know where the side door is because I can't find the fucking exits. That was the most terrifying and craziest experience that I've ever had. I did my little 30 minutes, but that was terrifying. That was so scary because I was ready to get up out of that motherfucker. They was gonna rip me to shreds if I would have talked about a little bit more gay shit. But apparently, apparently.
Is that a common thing that's happened to you several times? I don't mean that specific experience, but showing up places that you think you have an idea of what it's going to be, just to find out that it's something completely different when you get there. Energy is off, the room is off.
Oh yeah,
the venue is messed up. Something is
doing freaking sex parties. That's freaking crazy.
Wait, comedy. You did sex parties?
I've done comedy at sex parties. Yeah.
Oh shit. Oh, like orgies?
I talk about this all the time. I did this on Back's podcast as well. So back when I was living in Atlanta, go figs. I used to work with my homegirl, Sydney. If you ever look her up, y'all can look her up online, Sydney Green. Great and wonderful person. I absolutely adore her, and she's a wonderful, wonderful fucking person. But for her birthday every year since like 2015, she was like, I want to have a adult sleepover for her birthday. Yeah. Right? So I was like, okay, well, the first year I attended because a friend of mine invited me. I didn't actually do anything. I just went there to kind of look around and be like, oh, okay, this is what y'all do. Okay, this is cute. This is nice. I oil wrestled one of the young ladies. What's up, Joy? I see you. Like we did a pool and we just oil wrestled. It was crazy, butt naked. It was crazy. My mom. I hope my mom doesn't see this. So we had a blast doing that. But the next year, I was like, I kept in contact with her, and I was like, yo, what do you need help with? Can I help you plan it? Blase, blase. And so for like the next 3 years, I helped her plan her adult sleepover. And so
it took 3 years of planning?
No, it didn't take 3 years. For 3 years, I helped her plan for her birthday, her adult sleepover.
Okay.
So like consecutively every March, we would.
Oh, okay. You guys would do it every year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go on to the platform formerly known as Twitter, and you can look it up. Type in the hashtag ATL orgy, and you'll find all of the content. We literally broke the internet. The news stations were talking about it. It was wild. It was a wild time. And yes, it went down at these orgies. Adult sleepovers. We can't call it an orgy. It was not an orgy. It was. Listen, you didn't have to come up in there and fuck, but you did pay a lot of money in order to fuck.
What's a ticket on an adult sleepover?
I mean, we did a lot more than just the the sex shit. So she wanted to make it into a beautiful spiritual experience. So we had yoga, we had speakers that came in, we had erotic, we had porn stars that actually came to the parties and stuff like that and talked about being in the industry and whatnot. We had a huge fucking dinner. We roasted an entire fucking pig from a 5-star chef. This guy was top tier. He made some truffle. I have never had some macaroni and cheese as good as he made this macaroni and cheese. Truffle macaroni and cheese. When I tell you,
that sounds amazing.
My eyes rolled to the back of my head, down to my spine, and into my toes. I was, ooh. I am still feeling the ramifications of that mac and cheese to this day. That's how good that food was. But I mean, he was a great fucking cook. I made a lot of my longest term friends there. But these are the people that come to my comedy shows. That's the places that I did my comedy at. So it was just kind of that was my incorporation, doing the wild spaces, doing these crazy parties, getting into the scene and making friends in that manner.
That's very interesting. One question that I have about that was what I was asking you when I said what was the ticket on it. I mean, because you said you guys were charging admission, it was expensive. How much? What? Let's
see. For a single person, in the beginning, it was $300. The first year it was $300. The second year,
did it get better every year?
Oh yes, it got bigger and better every year because it was extremely private. We couldn't not anybody could just come to this thing. You had to first off we had to
people have to put their phones away like a comedy show.
Oh, we locked everybody's phones away.
Yeah,
we had them locked away. There was literally only one phone that was in the facility at the entire time, and it was Sydney's phone. Sydney was the only one who had access to her phone, and me, but. Basically, the second year we did tickets. I think we had tickets for 500, and we had a guest list of 25.
Oh wow, they had that many people there. That's a lot of people to be naked.
Yeah, that's insane because the next 2 years after that, that the last year we had a whole television crew. There's a TV show that's on that I think it was some HBO show that came through, and they filmed a segment of it. And so I'm on HBO. I've had people call me, friends of mine that call me just out of this clear blue, hey, where were you back in 2017? Were you around a girl named Sydney Green? I was like, yeah, I was working on. Oh, you saw the show, didn't you? So I'm on TV. People will recognize me. So God forbid that any of my aunts and uncles actually see it, because then I'd be like, you freaks. We kept it at about 500, 600 until they got these rooms, because we rented out Airbnbs and we had these massive fucking rooms with jacuzzis in them, and those were $800 a piece, and you got to stay for the entire weekend, and that included your stay. That included we had servers that came in that would erotic servers. My homegirl, she came up in there with no top on, and she just walk around there with the panties on, and so you had people that was waiting on you pretty much naked. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
It's funny because we had a conversation similar to this yesterday where we were talking about adult slumber parties, and we were just discussing the biggest issue for me, like with adult slumber parties, is just too many naked dudes. Like the naked dudes ruins the vibe for me.
But see, that's what you got to get over. You got to get over that. Like if you're gonna be in that space, and see, that was one thing that I did love about those spaces, and being in those spaces and being around those people. The people who came there, the reason why we vetted them so hard, because I'm queer. Mm-hmm. While I am not running to pussy, I might get some. Maybe. I might get some. In fact, like the last one, I had this chick literally sitting on my fucking face. It was crazy. But in those spaces, you know, I expect a lot of the men to come around with these kind of notions in their head about being naked around.
Yeah, men are prideful.
But the thing is that a lot of men that came there, they weren't. Mm-hmm. It might have been what I expected, but they weren't. They were like they were very happy to be naked around other men. A lot of these people just knew this. Yeah. And just wanted to just be naked. Yeah. But nobody really cared. Like, while you think being naked around other people is strange or that you might feel self-conscious, don't.
No, it's not even that. It's just the other naked dudes.
I mean, just get over it. I mean, I'm sure that you've watched enough porn.
Yeah, but I mean,
so you've seen enough dicks.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Also, that's actually.
I'm sure
a great
I've seen
point
twice
to bring
as many
up.
dicks as you.
Yeah, this is actually a great point to bring up. Is that you watch naked dudes anyways when you watch porn?
A dick is a dick. Like, listen, you've seen all the dicks. Yeah. If you've watched any amount of porn, you've seen all the dicks. There's no reason to have any kind of shame about it or even be concerned about what somebody else is packing. Because guess what? There was a lot of dudes. I can't talk about it, but there was a lot of dudes up in there that I was just like, you paid $600 to be here with that?
Little squirt gun.
Like, you just disappointing no 45, people left and right.
It's just a squirt gun.
But apparently, look, I was thinking they were going to be the disappointment of the party. No, they were the life of the goddamn party. Everybody wanted to sit on their goddamn face. I was just like, this is.
You gotta be good at something.
You was public train.
Maybe all your stat points went to your mouth.
Exactly. So yes, so it like, you know, don't. I would say if you are ever interested in in that kind of thing, and you want to be adventurous and go out there and live that kind of life, there are plenty of places that do it. There are plenty. Yeah,
we're in Austin. Austin is there's no shortage of finding stuff like that down here.
Dear God.
Yeah, could be with the hippie community and
we are hippies to the fullest.
I'm a black hippie.
We are so
definitely
hippie.
It is a section of my person. You see all this psychedelic art and yoga and shit around. It's definitely.
It's like we never left the 60s.
Yeah.
We never left the 60s. We were just like, hey, peace and love, man.
Yeah.
You leave out of Austin and it's just like, don't take my guns.
Yeah. Well, I think once you get more in tune with yourself, you just naturally gravitate towards like a more peaceful disposition. Oh, yeah. Peaceful and loving disposition. When you accept yourself and live in your truth, I think that's one of the reasons why gay men are always so happy. And a lot of people don't get that, you know, because they had to do one of the hardest lessons, which is like living in your truth, you know. And once you've done that for something like your sexuality, a lot of the other things fall away a lot more easier. Like,
that's true. I think a lot of the
and also they don't have women to drive them crazy. They're like,
I've been trying to make this point, and I'm gonna try to make it here on the podcast. Women drive men nuts.
Yes, this is true.
And I absolutely...
They have an unnatural power over men. And a lot of them aren't aware of just how strong it is.
And I feel
like guys are clear-headed most of the time.
Like the way that men treat women, they're just like, okay, it's easier for me to just be quiet, shake my head north and south, and just kind of let her kind of do this thing. And I'm like, yo... Women are psychotic. Yeah. Y'all need to get them into therapy just as much as y'all hetero men need to get into therapy.
Yeah, this is true.
Hetero men are just like, yo, we stuck with our sexuality and we have to deal with this thing that's connected to the twat that we like.
Yeah.
Now, women are just like, I have this power. It's like they're on a power trip and they're just insane with power and they know they can get away with it. And I'm just like, yo, dude, fight back. And they're just like, we can't. If we fight back, they're going to stop giving us the nookie. I'm like, dude, okay.
That's what I thought. Man, so many guys use that as an excuse to let women rule their lives. I'm just like, don't let them hold pussy. There's so many fish in the sea.
I mean, if we're fighting for equality in this bitch, like,
yeah,
y'all have the short end of the stick, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying that as I'm a true blue feminist, but I fight for equality, for real. For real equality.
Yeah.
And honestly, the way that women treat men, like, I get it, But there is no reason why men should ever be lording over women. You have to treat this thing like equal.
Yeah.
You got to treat this thing like equal. And there is no gender norm that happens. There's no binary normality of what we have to do. Like whatever your gender, what are your gender pronouns? What are your pronouns? What do you go by?
He?
You go by he?
Yeah.
Good. Great.
Yeah.
I go by he, her, they, them, she, shim, whatever the fuck you want to call me.
Yeah.
But I don't subscribe to whatever the gender norms are. Mm-hmm. If I feel like wearing a dress, I feel like fucking wearing a dress. If I feel like wearing a wig one day, I wear a wig. If I want to put on makeup, I put on makeup. Guess what? I don't fit into those boxes. And I feel like when people are stuck in those gender normative boxes, they break down, and men are stuck in these boxes because what do you have to be? You have to be this protector of the household. You have to be the breadwinner. You have to go and fight the bear in the woods that the woman wants to stay with and shit like that. Like, you have to do all of that shit. But what if you don't want to do? What if you want to be? I get the soft guy era.
Yeah.
I get this soft guy era that people want to be in. Like dudes just being like, yo, I really just want to be chill. And I don't want to have to be your provider and your protector. Can we just provide and protect each other? Yes, I love that for them. I love that for y'all. Because, for real, this macho shit is killing y'all. Y'all dying of heart attacks at earlier ages because y'all trying to be macho as fuck. Over here listening to Joe Rogan and taking ivermectin and shit. You gonna stop your fucking heart. I don't know where that accent came from. Let's do a milk shot.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I said you came in here today with donuts and chocolate milk. Let's go ahead and get to that. But while you're pouring that, I just found out today, this is something that I didn't even know, that you were a veteran and that you're in the United States Army. And that was actually something really unexpected from you because you're so rail against the system typically. It's like the last thing I ever expect. It's like, yeah, I'm a veteran. Oh, yeah, I'm a gay veteran. Like, I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
Who do you think were the first people to be marching in the civil rights movement after World War II? Who do you think were the first people to be marching after Vietnam? It was the veterans. We came back. Especially being a black veteran. Baby, as a black veteran, you come back from World War II. Do you know what you came back to? Trash. You came back to Jim Crow.
Yeah.
You came back to a country that was making laws against you and just being like, you know what? We don't want you niggas to vote. It was insane.
But you can die equally.
But you can die equally. Go on out here and catch these bullets. Fight against the Germans for us.
Yeah, and that's one of the interesting things with World War II, right, is that they had a lot of particularly black units, like only black units, and they'd send them straight to the front lines.
Yeah.
Straight to the front lines you go.
Triple nickel.
Yeah, and then they were telling, I believe, if I'm not incorrect, I could be incorrect about this history, but I believe that they were made promises in terms of their life quality.
Yeah.
There were things they were supposed to get that they
weren't able to get the GI Bill. When black soldiers came back from war after the deployments, we weren't able to get the GI Bill for a long time. They were just like, you're black. You don't get to get a house. You don't get to go to school. What are you trying to educate yourself for? Get back in the fucking field. Like, it was insane.
It seems like such a ridiculous concept, but it really wasn't that long ago. You know?
No, it wasn't. Like, but when you even put it into the scope of Vietnam, was only about 80 years ago. 80 years ago. That's about the same amount of time. That's a little bit longer than the amount of time that Israel has been an imaginative place. So.
You're pushing the line with that
one. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But tell me a little bit about your experience in the United States military.
I served during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, so it was a wild time. Like, if you don't know what Don't Ask, Don't Tell is, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was a rule in the military where basically nobody could ask me about my sexuality, and I couldn't tell anybody that I love Lady Gaga. So it was a very hard time for me. But I ended up figuring out a way to just live in that space. So I went to a school of the arts when I was a kid, and so I would just tell people I was a theater major, because usually when you tell people you're a theater major, they don't have to ask; they can tell. So it was a hard time for me to be in, and had to mask up so much. So much of who I was just lost through that experience.
Yeah, I feel like when you don't have the ability to like live in your truth or be open about who you are, it kind of does a little damage to your soul. And you correct me if I'm incorrect, if I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Like I am a creative. I am a creative. I've always been a creative ever since I was a little kid. Like I said, I went to a school of the arts. I've always worked in spaces of entertainment and creativity. And so when I made that choice to go into the military, because I really didn't have too many other choices.
Yeah.
You know, I hated school. I quit school. I was just like, and my mom was just like, yeah, you got to go into either somebody's military, get the fuck out of my house, or, go back to school. And I was like, I'm not going back to school because I hate it. And so.
Did you like the military more than school?
What? Fuck no. Go to war or study quantum physics. Which one would you choose?
Studying quantum physics.
Exactly, bitch.
I'm actually genuinely interested in quantum physics, so I definitely I do anything besides fight for a country, and I love America. I love being American. I love the fact that I grew up here, but I also don't believe in fighting for causes that aren't mine. Like, the government doesn't do so much for me to the fact where they can brainwash me into going to other countries and killing people, or participate in a system that's meant to suppress and really kill people. Like, it's a system meant to expand America as a corporate nation.
Yes.
Like, it's all about resources and money at the end of the day. And why would I go kill somebody to make you money? Like, I don't ever see people in the military coming back with loot from war. Like, at least back in the day when the king would round up people and tell them, like, hey, we're all going to war. You're going to go fight my enemies for me because you guys don't have anything better to do. And these are the motherfuckers I can find and convince to go for me or force into it.
Well, that's because it's actually it's against the rules to pillage.
Yeah.
But
we still pillage. It's just in a much more creative way.
We're not the soldiers.
Yeah.
We're not the ones that get to pillage.
Yeah. The government gets to pillage.
Yeah, they get to go over there and pillage.
This is our oil rig now. Natural resources. Well, we can sell these
natural resources look great.
Yeah. This will look great in our economy. Nestle, can you go do something about the water over here?
I remember watching like back in the day, like when Saddam Hussein, when they went up in there and took him out, right?
Yeah.
They were over there and they broke into his palace or whatnot, and they were like, oh, Saddam Hussein had like gold toilet seats. And they stole the gold toilet seats.
Yeah.
Whoever the soldiers were, they just went up in there and I'm like, I joined too late. They already took all the good shit. What the fuck am I over here for? Now I just got to deal with the heat and just shit dropping out the sky on my ass.
Yeah.
And y'all stole all the good toilet seats. I'm walking through the desert. All I got is camel spiders. That's all I had.
And war is a little bit different now. It works in our advantage.
War is different now?
Yeah, war is different now than it was like the last 2,000 years.
Yeah, they drop bombs onto innocent people in Israel. Yeah, they're just in Palestine. They're just dropping bombs left and right onto just babies and children and women and just unarmed people. They're just like boom, 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 boom. So war is definitely different. It's called genocide.
Yeah, but that's always been happening throughout the world's history, where people have always gone around
genocide
the world.
Or just
genocide. Yeah, genocide, murder, pillaging. Like these are things that have been common for a very long time.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a military and industrial complex.
Well, just a military in general. This is what happens when people have power and are greedy and are always greedy for more.
Having a military for defense is different from having a military to enforce power.
Okay, because I wouldn't consider like Britain, like at its peak, a military industrial complex. It's just a king with a military. And and they just always want more. So Britain conquered a third of the world at the time. You think of Rome or Greece, Alexander the Great. I mean, this is a story that has been going on forever. And oftentimes, if it's not about power, it's about ideology. And it's, like we get like the Holy Wars, etc., where... we went over. Christians went over as a whole.
You got to remember, also, Britain did a lot of shit with this holy war. They were out here doing that shit.
Yeah.
But my thing is, they've used so much of religion and so much of religious dogma in order to uphold their warmongering.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, is that wars are also fought over ideology, which seems like the stupidest thing ever, because when you really think about it...
No, they use the ideology as a guise.
Yeah.
The underlying thing is always colonialism. The underlying thing, because remember, Britain didn't go into these countries because they didn't go into African countries because they were just like, oh, we want to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. No, they went into these countries because it was just like, y'all got some gold. Y'all got some spices.
Yeah, but that just...
Y'all got some slave labor that we could use.
All at its heart relates back to greed.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think the issue where a lot of us go wrong is that we think that we don't have the same habits. I think greed is a sin present within all of us, and when somebody has the power to act on their whims, a lot of people will do it, which is why a lot of rich people end up in a lot of degeneracy. Like, I just believe that negative emotions and feelings are just part of us, like as natural as a shadow. Like, I think that it's on the individual to try to overcome their own shadow. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, and so for a lot of people who are rich and have the ability to do whatever they want, born into power or have conquested through, financial means or navigating the social system, they have the ability to do whatever they want as a whim. Like, for instance, if you're born as a king, if you were born as a king and you could just do whatever you want and nobody could do anything about it, do you think you would be 100% just?
No.
100% loving, 100% peaceful? Or when somebody pisses you off and you just have the opportunity to act on the whim, some of these heads got to fucking roll. Like, if you have the opportunity to just banish your enemies out the country, is that not an option you would take? Because I hear people say stuff all the time, and I'm like, well, if you had power, you'd probably go a lot further.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, yeah, I mean, look, power and greed go hand in hand.
They corrupt people.
It does corrupt people, because you don't have that... You don't build compassion and empathy through riches and wealth.
Yeah.
Very few people who have those platforms and have riches and wealth are able to simultaneously maintain empathy and compassion and see people for who they are. Because, I mean, I think you even look at somebody like Paris Hilton, right? So, Paris Hilton and Britney Spears are like besties.
Let me get one of those donuts over there. Just pass.
So, Paris Hilton and Britney Spears are like besties. And they were like real besties back in the early 2000s because they would like hang out together and they would go to the clubs together. And even in Britney Spears' memoir, she would talk about how like nobody really understood her like Paris did. And you got to understand where Paris has always been. She is a Hilton. She is an heiress. Britney is scud from Louisiana. She had to struggle for everything that she got. And to see those two things in the same space, like we got to see a moment of compassion, a moment of empathy coming from somebody who sat in that position. And you saw her be a wild, crazy girl on TV. It wasn't just an act. It was like, yo, we're seeing this woman have a whole moment right here where she's learning how to be a part of society and learn how to be a part of a structure of people that is not just a bunch of wealthy ass motherfuckers. Now, granted, a bunch of the people that she surrounded herself were wealthy as fuck, and the people that she still surrounds herself with are wealthy as fuck. But she has at least a monicum and just a little inkling of somehow to be compassionate for people who are less fortunate than her and have less than her. And I feel like people, if they don't have that exposure to that greed is going to eat them up.
Yeah.
And that's like you said, that's a part of where war comes from. We're all warring together.
Yeah.
But we all move as a collective
greed,
at the
envy,
same time. So.
Fear. Those are the type of things that lead people into because the chain of events, how I see it, is that people usually start at a negative feeling that turns in, and this is something like greed, envy, like wrath or fear.
Well, fear is the base. Fear is the baseline.
Yeah, and those turn into negative emotions of, like, let's say paranoia or dread, and that leads into thinking something negative. And once you get to thinking, at that point, if you act on that, you've done something negative. And I always think of it like this: everything is a chain of events, much like domino effect, cause and effect, and it's an eternal chain of events. Like, for instance, if literally one of your parents had a moment in time, one of their grandparents, just the smallest differentiation, I can't even say the fucking word.
Differentiation.
Yeah. In time, you're not here. You're no longer here. 2 minutes with your parents at the wrong place. You know, they cross, they get caught at one red light too early in life. It changes everything.
Right.
So I believe everything must be happening for a reason to get to a particular outcome. Right. Because it's either everything is happening for a reason or it ain't.
So, I love now we get to get into good shit.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you watch Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
You watch Star Talk?
Yeah.
So, he just had a guy on his show. I can't remember this guy's name. I got to go back and watch the episode. But he was the guy was talking about basically. Oh, this wasn't Neil deGrasse Tyson. This was fucking Adam Conover. Sorry, Adam Conover. This guy came on there and basically he was like, "There is no grand scheme or plan. We have no free will. Nothing is a choice. Basically everything is only just biological mechanisms consistently working together because you didn't make the choice to be here right now, to be on a podcast, to do podcasting. Your upbringing dictated that's what you were going to end up doing to make this choice right now. Some chemical mechanism that happened in your brain because you ate a banana when you were younger made you inclined to start doing comedy, which made you want to go ahead and do the microphone thing. You got inspired by seeing somebody online. Like, none of this actually really is some kind of grand plan. It was just happenstance collection of instances that happen.
See, I never get those type of guys because these are the type of guys you can't, and they have no trust or faith. And in reality, they do, but they don't see in the ways that they do because you have to trust all the information that came before you to be a good scientist, right? You have to have faith. You have to have faith and trust in the numbers and the research, etc., that has led to these conclusions because there's no way you can know it all.
Numbers and research don't require faith and trust. They exist because they exist. The numbers exist because the numbers are correct. You can consistently test those numbers over and over again. You can consistently test an experiment over and over again in order to get the results that you got to, in order to get to the results that person got to. Science is, I'm not saying science is infallible. Excuse me. I'm not saying science is infallible, but it has structure to it. It's not something that you have to have faith in.
You do have to have a little bit of faith. Anytime you don't know something, you have to have faith. So there's a lot of things that people think that they don't know.
No, you have to have a hypothesis. So that's what you have to have.
No, so this is what I mean. What does 1 plus 1 equal?
1 plus 1 equals 1.999999999.
No, but
it means it's 2. It's 2.
But why does it equal that?
Because of our reasoning and understanding how spatial structures work.
But like you said our reasoning, our understanding, because you were taught this, and you don't really know why 1 plus 1 equals 2, but you have faith in the system.
1 plus 1 equals 2 because our little monkey brains had to process things and objects in our world, and we had to give it a name, and we had to give it a place.
Yeah, we have to put our feet down somewhere logically. But I'm saying, why does it equal 2? Like, there's a lot of things you think. Like, you don't know who makes your shoes, all right? You don't know who makes your shirt.
Yes, I do.
I mean, but do you know where it comes from? Does that really matter to you? It's not something that really matters to you. You just have faith in the system and the fact that it's working. A lot of information that comes to you, you don't have the time to actually go and read and literally fact check all the research. You have to have trust in the fact that, oh, somebody designed this system and these are accredited people.
So you're saying faith is for the ignorant?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
It has to be. It has to be because
I'm saying all of us. I'm saying all of us. Everything we do requires faith. There's a lot of things that we do in our daily lives that require faith, right? And I don't get how people can be straightforward in their thinking, like saying, "Oh, everything is not happening for a reason. Everything is just a series of randomly generated. I mean, a series of constant coincidences that have led to this exact moment." Like, it's saying that everything is functionally perfectly to bring me into existence and for me to be here, but to me, but it's just all random things aligning coincidentally.
So then what happens when humans are no longer the apex species? What does the world look like where humans aren't here? Where we're not this. This is
Well,
not.
I think
because remember the dinosaurs probably thought that they was gonna be here for a long time too. They was just like, ooh, we gonna be jumping
I don't
on
think
these
we're
trees.
gonna. I don't think we're gonna be here forever. That's not what I'm saying at all.
So then, what is this grand scheme?
No, I'm saying. Well, my original point that we kind of diverted from was that everything is happening for a reason, or it isn't.
So what is this grand scheme? What is this reasoning?
I don't quite know. I don't quite know the end goal. I don't, but
just feels a little grandiose for somebody, something to have this great reasoning, and then all of a sudden just be like, all right, well, I'm gonna unplug the game now. That just doesn't compute with me.
Yeah, but even, for example, even if you follow physics or science in general, you get to a point where they don't know what happened. They go, oh, this is the Big Bang and this is a theory.
And we have nothing to go back to.
Yeah, so some people will tell you, okay, I know the Big Bang is a thing. There's no way to possibly know that. There's no way. Nobody went there and set eyes on the Big Bang. That's not possible. So you have to have a little bit of faith in the person who came up with the theory.
Do you believe that atoms are real?
Yeah, I believe that atoms are real.
Have you set your eyes on an atom before?
No, that's why I'm saying we have faith.
Okay, but we have sent satellites and telescopes into space in order to be able to see to the furthest reaches of where light can go and see the earliest components of light and what that looked like.
Well, the problem is it always
hundreds
gets further.
and hundreds of millions of years ago, billions of years ago.
But the thing is, it always gets further, and there's always more to know. Like at first, we thought just a few years ago, we thought atoms were the smallest thing that we could actually.
I don't know if I think
the smallest component in the universe.
I'm hearing you. I think that faith is the wrong word in this instance. There's something else there, because I just feel like to call it faith when compared to science and how science works and how you have to have a theory and then you test you have a question and then you have a hypothesis and you have a theory.
Somebody has to have that.
Like
somebody has to have that to further the science.
Yeah, I mean, you're consistently building on that.
But you don't have to have that to take in that knowledge.
Right. No. I
get
that.
So that you have trust. You have faith and trust.
You trust the professionals? That's it?
Yeah.
I get that, but
no, but you have to have faith in the information, and they do too. They have to have faith and trust in the research before them. Do you get what I'm saying?
I get it.
Nobody can know everything. You have to have a lot of faith.
I mean, I know
just to be able to function.
All the things. Yeah. My other stage name is God.
Yeah.
Actually.
So I mean, tell me, what do you think the nature of what do you? Since we're already on this subject, what is your faith? What do you believe in?
I'm an agnostic.
Yeah, I'm Gnostic. I'm the opposite.
You're Gnostic, not agnostic.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If there's going to be something out there, it's there. Mm-hmm. We don't really have a means to communicate with it. It's in the realm of when you're a baby and you're in the womb and you're being developed. You don't have the knowledge of what's happening on the outside of your womb until you get on the outside of that womb.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't even make it outside that womb, huh? I'm just saying, sometimes you just skip right back into the next life. You know, you just like, nah. I feel like so I had this theory that, if we living in a simulation. So at this point, the closer and closer that we get to creating a self-aware AI, the closer and closer that we are to literally proving that we're living in a simulation. I heard this on Neil deGrasse Tyson's show. So
simulation theory is very interesting.
It is so very interesting.
Is that if at some point we have the ability, if we assume the fact that with technology's acceleration that we will reach a point where we could simulate a universe, well, who's to say that hasn't happened before?
Right, well, that's the whole point.
What are the odds that we would be the first civilization, that we would be the first version of doing this?
No, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That is the whole point of that if we are the simulation, then we are the simulation of a simulation of a simulation of a simulation of a simulation, and we're an ongoing simulation that keeps repeating and producing itself.
Yeah.
And
An
so,
unfoldment, yeah.
in the mix of what I believe, it's kind of this agnostic's belief with a little bit of simulation theory, because I'm just like,
you are into science. You do believe in science and hard science.
oh yes, completely
And
hard science.
That informs your beliefs. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like the thing is, I don't claim to know everything either. I don't claim to. I was kidding about earlier where I said that I know everything. I'm not God. I'm not omnipotent.
Yeah.
I'm not omniscient. But it's just you can't possibly know everything. We are still discovering so many different things, like what you were bringing up earlier, like, with the atom. We thought the atom was the smallest component of our universe, and then we realized, oh no, atoms have electrons and neutrons, and then and protons, and then they break down into quarks.
Yeah.
And they break down into quarks, and then we have the boson, and
the Higgs boson.
Yeah, we have so many different elements to what we don't know.
Yeah.
It's
There's always more to
us
discover, is what it seems like.
Yeah, and so like when like watching what's going on currently in the world and seeing how people are still utilizing religion as a means to oppress people, like, you don't know shit. You don't know shit. Your religion is bullshit. You're just using it in order to stamp out people and step on other people's neck. You're keeping other people down. That's all that you have going for you right now. And like that's just weird that we live in this world that's what they want to, that's what people want to be in. And that's what they're functioning as.
Yeah. Are you aware of the double slit experiment?
Yes.
Yes. And that the universe has a nature to respond to consciousness. There's that old question, like, if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a noise if there's nobody there to hear it? And it seems like what we're finding out with quantum physics is that it doesn't make a noise. That anything that we're not laying eyes on, like it seems to be that waves function in both a particle form and and they have a wave function, and consciousness is what collapses it into its particle form. So eventually we're going to have some type of bridge between quantum physics and regular general physics, or Einstein and relativity. Because there's no gap right now. There's a huge gap right now that doesn't explain the way that electrons and protons behave versus how big bodies or big masses behave.
Right.
We've just recently discovered how to teleport things instantaneously. We can only do it with the particle at the moment, but who's not to say? It seems like everything that we've ever designed expands.
So okay, I gotta figure this out. I'm gonna come back to that with the teleportation thing, because there's this whole Star Trek theory that's going on that, like, anyways, with the slit experiment, it's interesting because if I was any kind of theist, I would use that as a means to be able to, like, say, proof of God.
Yeah, and I'm a theist. Yeah,
right.
I'm very heavily into theology.
Yeah, but see, I would use that as like, if I was like a Christian or something like that, I would use that as a means to say the proof of God. Like, look, because the protons go through the slit only when we watch it, but then they act randomly when we aren't watching it. It shows proof that our existence is supposed to be this means of being able to be watched, and we are the beings of consciousness. Yeah. We affect the universe. And so, like, I would use that as a means to be able to say, hey, God has to be real, because other than that, when things aren't happening, when things aren't being observed, then they don't actually exist.
Well, at least in my perspective, I believe that, and my perspective varies greatly from a lot of people's, because I've read a lot of people spend their life and they barely spend any time focusing on their own religion. Like, that's one thing that also sets Christianity in my eyes, as somebody who's traveled through America, who spent a lot of time investigating theology and having deep conversations with people about the nature of God and what they believe. Because I'm always curious, and I don't shun people for their beliefs. I believe that everybody, much like a lot of things in the world, everybody has different pieces of the puzzle. And that seems to be what I get out of studying, like, the Hindu Vedic texts and, you know, checking out the teachings of Buddha. And, you know, I've read the Bible several times, both the Old Testament and the New Testament, and even checking out some of the more modern day religions like the Church of Latter-day Saints or Mormons. Ooh. And I grew up Jehovah's Witness. I was forced into religion very young, and then I came out of it because I was such a heavy thinker. I was always into science, and science seemed to didn't confirm the existence of God to me. But when I really started to look, and this was really only the last 3 or 4 years where I came back into, you know, deciding that God exists. And it was because of a lot of big experiences that changed me, a lot of inner work that I did that showed me, oh, there's a lot more going on in the universe. You know, you have a first hit of DMT or you do some mushrooms. You do a significant dose of mushrooms, like an eighth or more on a fasted stomach, you're going to see some things, and it's going to make you question the nature of reality.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and of course, now, I never take for granted that quite a few things can be imagined. But one of the things that bothers me oftentimes is, how do your brain know how to imagine things that it's never seen before with such accuracy? Like when I say something as simple as, when you dream, right? You dream, of course. When you dream, you come out of your dream going, hey, I was in this environment and I talked to these people, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, none of those people exist. If the dream is exactly how it's supposed to be, and that this is all created in your mind, how is it that each of us are born with this natural ability to go into our brain and essentially settle there, and your brain knows how to distinguish you, create an entire environment full of people and experiences, and also separates you from the environment in a unique perspective?
Simulation dream. That sounds amazing.
Is that not actually trippy when you think about it?
Not for me, because I mean, you are experiencing this thing, this life, this world that we're in. You know, by experiencing it, you know, you are seeing the things around you, and so your brain pulls from what is around you already, and it uses those elements in order to create new things. Or
how does it know how to do that, though?
I mean, you meditate, you know, like
I don't know. It's a really wild thing when you think about it. Like, not only is it creating this environment with no prompting, it's not something that you get trained to do, and it's a very unique thing. Not only is it creating this environment and people for you, but it's also separating you from the environment. It's really crazy when you really think about it. Like, it's separating you from the entire environment that is you.
I would like to give it more thought, because I've never given it that much thought about, like, you know, what's going on. When you come out your dream talking, saying, oh, I talked to this person, I was here, that's all you. Yes. That's all. I mean, if the way it's supposed to work is, that is all you. That's all you in there. I hate to have to do this. Can we turn on this fucking air? I'm fucking dying right now.
We can wrap. We let's close in like 10. Let's have a closing discussion.
Please do.
But yeah. Anyways, first off, it's been great having you here. You've been an excellent guest.
Been so much fun.
We have so much to get into when I can get you over here again.
Hey, I'm happy to come back anytime. This was so much fun. Mm-hmm. I'm bringing a fan, or in the very least, a ice cube that I can sit on. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
And I know every time that we sit down and we talk, we go into these like metaphysical and like theological conversations, and I love having those conversations with people. And it will go as deep as you'll allow me to go, but I think that that's a part of like the psychology of philosophy that we have as human beings, especially when you are a deep thinker. You know, you want to think about those things, and you have to get around people that get to talk with you about those things. Yeah,
because a lot of people prefer very surface level, nuanced conversation, and I think we figure out things more together when we conversate, because whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, anytime you talk to people or you engage with ideas, you naturally pick up a little bit of what they're, even if it's not clear in the moment, you naturally pick up a little bit of what they say, and and the other person takes a little bit away from you. It's an exchange, right? Because the moment you're listening and you're participating, all of that information is being processed in your brain, and it might make the decision to cut most of it out, but it can't cut all of it out, right? You know.
And the subconscious is still there.
Yeah, exactly. And it morphs you. Every experience you have morphs you, like the domino effect, you know. It changes you, even if it's the most slightest way. And I believe one of the reasons why I really like talking to you is because a lot of people don't have the ability to conversate and separate their emotions from the topic. Because regardless of what I believe, at least my hope is I want to get to a state where people have the ability to conversate and say what they're thinking honestly and bounce ideas off of each other, because nobody knows it all. And a lot of these things, none of us know, and we're all just thinking, right? What I tell people is the difference is knowing is when information meets experience. Until you've experienced, you don't know shit. You're only thinking it. You're only trusting the information that you have, right? And then when you get to that stage, that's when you start to experience a little bit of wisdom from going through knowing things rather than just thinking or experiences. So
a lot of people aren't going to be able to know the universe until they die.
Yeah, and
that's
completely fine.
Crazy.
A lot of people are scared of death. What is your opinion on death? Death is a very taboo thing in America.
It is so fucked up. Like,
but it's a natural part of life.
Some days I'm like, dude, we're all gonna fucking die. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. Who made the rules that we had to do this? And then on some other days, I'm like, that's crazy. We all gotta die. Where the fuck do we go afterwards? And then I go down this rabbit hole in my mind. And so, like, I have this very, I've always had a morbid, affection for morbidity. Mm-hmm. You know, I've always had, like, and as people would put it, I've been a little goth. You know, and I've had that kind of mindset ever since I was a little kid, because I just couldn't figure out, like, what this thing was. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really put myself into the realm of, like, I could be religious enough to forget that that's what this is. Like, like, I'm more of Nietzsche. Like, I'm more like, yo,
I'm more young.
Life is struggle. Like, life is suffering kind of shit. Yeah. You know, and it's
Dostoevsky is one of my favorite writers. Nietzsche's cool, but I really like Dostoevsky. Yeah. We're all set.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to call that a wrap. Thank God for you coming here today. Jose the Hype Man, you've been a blessing to us, and we really appreciate your presence and you coming in and conversating with us. I wish that we had a little bit more time. I'd love to have a 2-3 hour conversation with you. You're such an intelligent guy, and it's so great to hear your perspective and you give your opinion on a lot of things. There's so much more I want to get into with you, but we'll save it for later interviews, man. It's been great. We're going to call that a cut. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Oh, wait, yo, if y'all want to find me, you can find me on Instagram.com /Jose_DA_hype, HYPE. And the same thing on TikTok, the same thing on Google Groups or Plus or whatever. I don't know. Wherever you get your content. YouTube, too. Thank you.
Perfect. You guys have a good one.